What if we told you that in the coming years, a community of humans will be living on the moon? Imagine a budding lunar community thriving with life, research and innovation on the shiny, silvery lunar surface. The sky looks like a canvas of infinite darkness, even during the daytime, and there is no such thing as an atmosphere. Sounding like a fictional fantasy? Well, with NASA's Artemis mission, it would soon be the truth of the day. Welcome to the SpaceTech Gazette. Today, we're going to talk about an ambitious endeavor of NASA, one that is all set to re-establish human presence on the lunar surface. Buckle up as we kickstart our journey to the moon with the Artemis mission. Humans have spent several nights gazing at the moon, pondering its secrets. The mysterious lunar land remains hanging there, suspended in the serene and remote blanket of space. Scientists have estimated the age of the moon to be around 4.51 billion years, so you can say that the moon is a 5 billion-year-old time capsule. The Artemis mission is all about returning to this time capsule once again to explore, understand, and go back to the origins of the moon. With this mission, NASA will take a revolutionary step in creating history by landing the first woman and the first person of color on the moon. But beware, it's not just about setting foot on the moon. It's about building a future for the human species beyond our planet. Using cutting-edge technologies, experienced astronauts, and support from commercial and international partners, NASA will explore the lunar surface like never before. The entire aim is to establish the first long-term human robotic presence on and around the moon. Now that's absolutely mind-boggling, isn't it? However, you must be wondering, how on Earth, or better, say how on the moon, is NASA planning to pull off such a colossal mission? After all, building a human community on the distant land of the moon ain't a cakewalk, right? Well, it's a couple of extraordinary stellar assets that will make Artemis stand out from the crowd. Just like they say, teamwork is what makes the dream work. Artemis will win this challenge with a rock-solid team of 2 cosmic travelers, a mega rocket named Space Launch System, SLS, and an extraordinary capsule spacecraft named Orion. Now, the successful execution of the Artemis mission depends on these 2 buddies as they carry the entire Artemis mission on their shoulders. Let's have a proper introduction with the prime members of our mission. The SLS, standing tall at 322 feet, is a robust rocket that is armed with a core stage, upper stage, and solid rocket boosters, all engineered to launch a payload into space. The Orion spacecraft, on the other hand, is a space capsule that is larger than the iconic Apollo command modules. This advanced space vehicle is built to carry a total of 4 astronauts to the lunar surface. And not to forget, for the crewed Artemis missions, the SLS rocket will launch the Orion spacecraft to the moon. With the help of SLS and Orion, our brave astronauts will travel nearly 250,000 miles, or 402,000 kilometers, from Earth to lunar orbit. And this is exactly where the entire mission takes an interesting as well as a daring twist. Why? Because the gateway to the moon now comes into the picture. While on their way to the moon, our astronauts will encounter a cosmic pit stop. And it is this stop which has been called the gateway, where the Orion spacecraft will be docked. And from this gateway, they will shift to a specialized human landing system, one that is completely ready to embark on the most awaited part of the mission, the Lunar Expeditions. Now, this isn't going to be just an ordinary stroll in space. Our astronauts will have a lot more than just breathtaking lunar expeditions on their checklist. They will be exploring uncharted terrains like the lunar South Pole, or better call it, the dark side of the moon. As exciting as it sounds, accomplishing something as huge as a crewed lunar landing is equally scary. The Artemis mission involves major risks that can't be ignored. But guess what? NASA is leaps and bounds ahead of our fears. To ensure our astronauts' safety and minimal risks involving uncertainty, NASA decided to fly 2 missions around the moon just to test the efficiency of their deep space exploration systems. The first mission, that is Artemis 1, was an uncrewed flight to test the rocket and the spacecraft together. This daring space venture was executed in 2022, The goal was to check if the SLS rocket and the Orion capsule reached the moon, performed correctly in the lunar orbit, and safely returned to Earth. And staying true to NASA's expectations, the Orion capsule returned to Earth with a safe splash down in the Pacific Ocean. Now that is what success sounds like. The successful execution of Artemis 1 led to the preparations for Artemis 2, 3, 4, 5, which will continue throughout the decade. But what are all these missions going to be about? Let's try to understand. After the 1.4 million-mile flight of Artemis 1, NASA is gearing up with Artemis 2 to become the first SLS and Orion flight test with the crew. Orion will carry the 4 crew members around the moon and return back to Earth for re-entry and splashdown. The launch of Artemis 2 is scheduled for around November 2024. At last, Artemis 3 will be the mission that will become the first crewed lunar landing of the Artemis program. The astronauts will stay on the moon for around a week. This will be the mission that will make history with the first woman and the first person of color to land on the moon. The launch of Artemis 3 is scheduled no earlier than December 2025. Artemis 4, scheduled for 2028, and Artemis 5, scheduled for 2029, will mark the second and third crewed lunar landing of the Artemis program, respectively. But wait, aren't we heading to the moon with a purpose? Is it for a major discovery or to make it our new home? For NASA, the moon is just a testing ground. The real goal is the ultimate mission to Mars. With Artemis missions, NASA will experiment with new technologies, research methods, and business approaches needed for future explorations on Mars. Advanced lunar research will help us find water on the moon, along with other critical resources that are vital for long-term exploration. It will also uncover many secrets about Earth's origin and the history of the solar system. Driving a lunar community and the learnings from these lunar missions are therefore crucial for NASA to take the next giant leap, sending the first astronauts to Mars around 2030. For the first time, humanity will gain insights into living on a new celestial body, one where our astronauts are just 3 days away from home, allowing us to test and prove technologies essential for a 3-year round trip to Mars. For centuries, we've marveled at the beauty of the lunar surface, always knowing that no one from the moon has ever gazed back at us. And now finally, the time has come when our curious and wondering eyes will be answered back. Soon, 2-way lunar conversations will be on the horizon. Soon, someone will wave back at us from the moon. Imagine that. That concludes the cosmic journey of the Artemis mission to the lunar surface. If this journey ignited your curiosity, remember to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Your support fuels our mission to bring you the latest news in space technology. If you want to know more about some of the most amazing space technologies out there, you can watch one of these videos next. Until our next cosmic rendezvous, stay tuned and keep exploring with the SpaceTech Gazette.